After ascending to the throne, young King Solomon traveled to Gibeon to offer sacrifices. There, the Lord appeared to him in a dream, offering him anything he desired. Solomon, setting aside personal power, or wealth, humbly asked for wisdom to govern God's people. Pleased with his selfless request, God not only granted him profound wisdom but also promised him immense wealth, honor, and success. Returning to Jerusalem, Solomon reigned with unmatched splendor. His next great act was to build the temple. He wrote to King Hiram of Tyre, a friend of his father David, requesting master craftsmen and materials to build a house for the Lord of such magnificent splendor that it would reflect his glory. Hiram joyfully agreed, sending a skilled artisan and all the requested supplies. Solomon then marshaled an enormous workforce of laborers, and on Mount Moriah, the very spot where David had built his altar, they began construction. The temple was built on a grand scale, its dimensions and materials a testament to the immense glory of the God who would dwell within its walls. With every sacred furnishing meticulously crafted from the massive bronze altar to the gleaming golden lampstands, Solomon's temple stood ready for its divine purpose. At last, the priests brought the Ark of the Covenant into the most holy place, placing it under the outstretched wings of the golden cherubim. As they emerged, the Levites began to play a resounding song of praise with cymbals, harps, and trumpets. In that moment, an immense and brilliant cloud, the glory of the Lord, filled the entire temple, so overwhelming that the priests were unable to perform their duties. Solomon then stood before all of Israel and offered a profound prayer of dedication. He acknowledged that this house could not contain the God of heaven and earth, yet he pleaded with the Lord to hear the prayers of his people from this place. He prayed for forgiveness and help in times of trouble, asking God to make this magnificent building a sacred space for all who would seek his name. After Solomon's prayer of dedication, fire descended from heaven, consuming the sacrifices, and the glory of the Lord filled the temple. The people fell on their faces in awe, praising God. That night the Lord appeared to Solomon, affirming his presence in the temple but giving a clear warning. If the people remained faithful, he would bless them, but if they turned away, he would abandon the temple and make them a ruin. Solomon's reign then entered a period of unprecedented prosperity and order. He built and fortified cities, established a massive workforce, and meticulously organized the temple's daily operations. His fame reached the ends of the earth, and the Queen of Sheba traveled to test his legendary wisdom. She was utterly astonished by his profound understanding, the magnificent splendor of his palace, and the perfect order of his kingdom. Overwhelmed, she confessed that his greatness exceeded all she had heard and blessed the Lord who had placed such a wise king over Israel. Solomon's 40-year reign was a time of unparalleled wealth, a testament to God's blessing. Rehoboam became king, and all Israel came to Shechem to make him their ruler. The people, burdened by Solomon's heavy taxes and labor, asked him for relief. Instead of listening to the wise counsel of his father's elders, Rehoboam chose to follow the advice of his young friends. "My little finger is thicker than my father's loins," he declared, promising to make their yoke even heavier. This harsh reply caused a devastating split. The northern 10 tribes, led by Jeroboam, rebelled, leaving only Judah and Benjamin loyal to Rehoboam. Rehoboam tried to fight against the northern kingdom, but God, through the prophet Shemaiah, commanded him not to, and the army dispersed. Just 5 years into his reign, the people of Judah forsook the Lord's law, and God sent King Shishak of Egypt to punish them. Shishak's army invaded and captured the fortified cities, eventually reaching Jerusalem and plundering the temple's treasures, including Solomon's golden shields. The people in Rehoboam humbled themselves before the Lord, and God spared them from complete destruction, though they were made servants to the Egyptians. King Obijah of Judah went to war against Jeroboam of Israel. Outnumbered and surrounded by the enemy, the men of Judah cried out to the Lord, and the priests sounded their trumpets. In a miraculous turn, God struck down Jeroboam's army, granting Obijah a great victory. This triumph was a powerful lesson in relying on God. After Obijah his son Asa became king, he led a great spiritual revival, commanding the people to seek the Lord and tearing down all foreign altars. When a 1,000,000-man army led by Zerah the Cushite invaded, Asa cried out to God, "Help us, O Lord our God, for we rely on you." God answered his prayer, granting Judah a decisive victory and immense spoil. Inspired, the prophet Azariah told Asa, "The Lord is with you while you are with him." Encouraged, Asa continued his reforms. removing even more idols and leading all the people in a renewed covenant to seek the Lord with their whole heart. As a result of their faithfulness, the Lord gave them a long period of peace. King Asa, who once relied on God for great victories, faltered in his old age. When threatened by the king of Israel, he used the temple treasury to hire the king of Aram. Failing to trust the Lord, the prophet Hanani rebuked him, but Asa, in his pride, had him imprisoned. Asa died having relied on doctors rather than God in his final illness. His son Jehoshaphat began his reign with a different spirit. He sought the Lord and sent priests and Levites throughout the land to teach God's law. As a result, God blessed him with immense prosperity and military strength. However, he made a terrible alliance with the wicked king Ahab of Israel. When Ahab proposed a war against Aram, Jehoshaphat, though he still wanted to inquire of the Lord, ignored the prophet Micaiah's warning of disaster. In the ensuing battle, God saved Jehoshaphat from certain death. But Ahab was killed by a stray arrow, proving the prophet's words true. King Jehoshaphat, rebuked for his alliance with Ahab, humbled himself and began a great spiritual reform across Judah. When a vast army of Moabites, Ammonites, and Meunites came against him, he was terrified. Instead of raising an army, he proclaimed a fast and gathered all the people to seek the Lord. He prayed a profound prayer, confessing their weakness and declaring, "Our eyes are on you." In response, the prophet Jahaziel declared, "The battle is not yours, but God's." The next day, as the army marched out with a choir singing praises, God caused the enemy forces to turn on and annihilate each other. Judah then gathered immense plunder without lifting a sword. However, his son Joram began a wicked reign. He murdered all his brothers, led the people into idolatry, and ignored a warning from the prophet Elijah. Consequently, God sent a plague upon him and his family, and he died of a terrible unlamented illness, his reign ending in disaster. After King Ahaziah died, his wicked mother, Athaliah, seized power. In her fury, she murdered all the royal heirs of Judah, but an infant, Joash, was secretly rescued and hidden in the temple by the priest Jehoiada. For 6 years, the rightful king lived in hiding while the wicked queen ruled. In the 7th year, Jehoiada revealed the young prince and, with the support of the Levites and military commanders, crowned him king. The people of Judah rejoiced, and Athaliah was captured and executed. As long as his mentor Jehoiada lived, King Joash faithfully served the Lord and restored the temple to its former glory, funded by the people's generous offerings. However, after Jehoiada's death, Joash turned to evil counsel and embraced idolatry. When Jehoiada's own son, Zechariah, confronted him, Joash ordered him to be stoned to death. In punishment, an Aramaean army invaded and defeated Judah's vast army. Joash was left mortally wounded, only to be assassinated by his own servants. King Amaziah began his reign doing what was right in the sight of the Lord, though not with a whole heart. After heeding a prophet's warning and winning a miraculous victory over Edom, he made a tragic turn. He brought back the Edomite idols and began to worship them. This led to his pride and a foolish war against Israel, which he lost terribly. His life ended in a conspiracy to kill him. His son Uzziah found great success and fame early in his reign by seeking God's guidance. God blessed him with military might and prosperity. However, his strength led to pride, and he audaciously entered the temple to burn incense, a sacred duty reserved for priests. When the priests confronted him, he was immediately struck with leprosy. He lived the rest of his days in isolation, a powerful lesson in the dangers of pride. After him came his son, Jotham, a good king who strengthened Judah, because he ordered his ways before the Lord. But Jotham's son Ahaz was the opposite. He was a wicked king who sacrificed his own children to idols and closed the temple doors, leading to great suffering and defeat. King Hezekiah began his reign with a mission to restore the spiritual heart of his nation. In his very first month, he reopened the temple his wicked father had shut down. He cleansed the sanctuary and reinstituted the worship of the Lord, with priests and Levites joyfully offering sacrifices and praise. He then sent a decree across all Israel and Judah, inviting everyone to Jerusalem for a great Passover. Though many were ritually unclean, they came and celebrated with immense joy. Hezekiah prayed for their forgiveness, and the Lord heard him, granting the people grace. After this revival, a great test came. King Sennacherib of Assyria invaded Judah, mocking their trust in God. Hezekiah, at a moment of great faith, prayed to the Lord with the prophet Isaiah. That very night, an angel of the Lord struck down 185,000 Assyrian soldiers, and Sennacherib retreated in disgrace. God also answered Hezekiah's prayer for healing, adding 15 years to his life. The wicked reign of Manasseh filled Judah with deep idolatry, but when captured by the Assyrians, he humbled himself and prayed. God heard him, restored his throne, and Manasseh worked to undo his evil. After his wicked son Amon was murdered, Josiah became king. He found the book of the law in the temple and, shattered by his people's sin, led the greatest revival in Judah's history, destroying all idols and celebrating a grand Passover. Tragically, Josiah was killed in a foolish battle against Pharaoh Necho, and the people mourned deeply. Following Josiah, a rapid succession of weak and wicked kings refused to heed the prophets. The people's wickedness grew too great, and the Lord finally sent Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. Jerusalem was conquered, the beautiful temple was destroyed, and the survivors were carried into exile. The land was left desolate for 70 years to enjoy its Sabbaths. The book ends on a note of hope, the decree of King Cyrus, allowing the exiles to return and rebuild the house of the Lord.
Subscribe.